they don't know what is global issue. They only know what is in their community. The climate change is something that is not only in one country.
And most importantly, working for the peace and conflict management.
Research and studying in the outer space.
FOCAC, for example, the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation.
Many countries and many organizations working toward one goal.
Towards eradicating poverty and climate change.
Inclusiveness, diversities, other things that elder people are not so open-minded, you know?
How do we put this together in educational systems so they know they can do it, not just feel or think that they can do it, but act?
With all these development challenges and issues impacting future generations, this begs the question, what are the roles of young people today? And what leadership is required from young people to promote global development? Previously, building towards this final video, our series explored questions relating to the topic of global development, such as, what do you think of when you hear the word development? What are the goals and focuses of your governments in promoting development? And what are the challenges? What are some of the good practices and examples of local and global development? And what are your ideas? So coming up next, before we talk about the types of leadership required to drive progress in global development, I asked young people from around the world, what is global in global development? And why is it so important? For example, how is it different from international development? And here are some of their thoughts.
Global is something that refers to the whole planet. So not only a part of this world, but the whole nations, people of different ages, people of different social circles, occupations.
We are going towards including the whole world in this idea. Global development is, in fact, the thing that we, as a global village, as we can say it now in this era, we should move towards.
The win-win situation we only get if there is the global perspective. Then obviously that is the global perspective, and every nation has to be in that one goal.
It's common between many countries. So in terms of the sustainable development, it's something that many countries and many organizations working toward one goal, which is having a more sustainable future. And this is actually one of the things that the UAE is currently focused on. So they're directing many of their work and companies, and even they're introducing new courses and studies towards sustainable development. And I took part of one of these courses. I'm actually an SDG ambassador in the UAE.
But global for me is something has to do with any program that many countries can share. Climate change, for example. The climate change is something that is not only in one country. So how can we deal with that? So we need to now think of what is global development.
When I listen to K-pop or pop song, it is said to be a global music.
Well, one of the things Russia is happy about is research and studying in the outer space.
So Belt and Road Initiative is one of the objectives of the global development. I mean, whenever you're going to build a building or a project, you don't really focus on the entire country or just you start from a very small basic points. And then step by step. So that is actually if you see on the other side of the Belt and Road Initiative project, like the European Unions and the Americans and the other countries, they came with the same idea. And they also want to do the same thing. So suppose you have China from here started this international initiative, you have those countries from there. So by this way, you actually go you can get your goals, your aim, your objectives. So that is for me, that is a slight difference.
I'm going towards a bit towards the political aspect, but we have to accept that there are different superpowers. It's not the era of a single superpower. It's an era of collective approach towards power sharing models, where there is a European Union, then there is another bloc where America is collaborating with different countries, and here China, Russia, Pakistan, and these Afghanistan and different African countries. But for us to move towards a greater good for the whole world, we have to accept that we have to work on a global level, where all the countries contribute to the similar goals. I know that every nation has different goals, but yeah, we can come to common grounds and then move towards those common terms and common goals, because it is surrounded by different neighbors and which are not on the similar page. For example, India, then Afghanistan, there are a lot of problems. So it's actually countries like Pakistan have a lot of individual goals first to attain, and then such countries can move towards that global approach. In fact, China has been very kind in those areas towards Pakistan. Not that Pakistan has all the gains from China. China also has these gains. But yeah, once Pakistan moves rises to that point where it can sustain itself, then I am sure that this bloc, this China, Russia, Pakistan, and these countries, even India should collaborate in it with China and all other countries. So yeah, we can move towards eradicating poverty and climate change.
Whenever we talk about these leadership roles and these engagements or these debates or these, like, the national or international interest or regional cooperations, you cannot, bring the developing countries and the developed countries on the same page. How do we build an accountability for the stakeholder developed countries to achieve SDG goals?
These are all wonderful insights and responses. Many emphasize on the idea of a whole planet and the entire world as one, as well as common and shared challenges. Some even gave examples to help illustrate the understanding of global. And absolutely yes to the final comments about accountability. If you're watching now and have any thoughts to share, do leave us a comment. I would love to continue brainstorming with you to explore this further. So going back to how to understand global in global development, I think the anchor faculty member of the Global Hybrid course, China's Perspective on Global Development Initiative, Professor Yang Bing, said it best during the opening lecture.
In 2021, last year, we have President Xi Jinping of China proposed the Global Development Initiative when he attended the general debate of UN General Assembly. It aims to build a community of a shared future for global development with closer engagement between China and the world.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres later also echoed the Chinese president's message by stating that the purpose of practicing multilateralism is to build a community with a shared future for mankind. And with this in mind, to kick off answering the question of what types of leadership we need to promote global development, my immediate thoughts would be empathy or empathetic leadership. This is because, in my opinion, we must stop having this zero-sum game mindset where for one country to win, the other countries have to lose. But instead, think about how we can win together and how to create a win-win situations through global development. So that's my thoughts. And now, let me present to you what other young people from around the world think as well.
I never really differentiate whether somebody is from Africa. I don't care about that. Whether somebody is from Europe, China, America, Pakistan, India, I don't care really about that. But what I care about is humanity. For me, all the people, they're very respectable and they're very, very, very important. So I think our leadership must talk about these, because again, every single life is very, very precious.
Being a member of a Yali network. Yali network is a young African leaders initiative, try to create awareness to a community. So let's say we have a community which doesn't even know what is gender equality, what is important of education in the community, and how can that education help the development of the community.
It's inspiring to others with their values so they could lead them. And this is interconnected with knowledge. Why? I think knowledge lets you to get rid of some biases in your mind.
The youth has all these facilities. It can do its own. It can try to apply its own ideas and create more and more opportunities that involve people from different countries, not only for its own good, but also involve other countries.
Be humble. This is very, very important for any leader. And then, having that understanding and sharing interest.
Being the leader, it's also about being able to work together, and along with this is participation as well, like participatory leadership. I guess a leader isn't a boss, like actually participate, and you got to go and understand things yourself. You got to actually participate in the actual working, so then you actually develop your own insights of what needs to be done. So I think that's like pretty important for leadership.
I think any development, any plan, they will require different type of leadership in different periods. Like if you want to make something progress and development, you will need creativity. So creative leadership is really important, like for you to gather the ideas and for you to find out how to make something impossible become possible, because you need something to inspire you, to give you the idea that how you can deal with that problem.
Without the smartness and innovation, no one can do the things differently. To do anything differently, we must have to be innovative, and we have to that kind of the capacities to explore the things in a new way. So these are the things there. So to make anything society resilience or that kind of the things, both the things, one, how the existing situation is running is one way, another, how to adapt the changing situation is another.
But I think that not only creativity should be presented here, but also patience. Maybe something conservative, something usual can also help. As young people, they don't think about ecology very much. To be tolerant with people who don't want to participate, to be tolerant with maybe authorities who don't want to help, and maybe the lack of funding when you have to find in your sponsors.
I would say that maybe tolerance at some point, because right now leadership at different countries is absolutely is polar opposite. So sometimes people just couldn't find this dot those they could understand each other better and come to the one conclusion.
Decisive leadership. So I think a stern, firm, and resolute youth will be able to make things happen, to get things done. As long as they are resolute and determined at dealing with a particular challenge. I think history has shown that the youth, when they're determined, can play a decisive role in changing how things are going.
See, if they believe they can do it, and we give them the tools and the abilities, how do we put this together in educational systems so they know they can do it, not just feel or think that they can do it, but actually that know they can. Agency is important, creativity is important, and I was going to say that initiative, it's a very beautiful word, because in a contract or in agreement, you are obliged, and there's a lot of requirements. And when you talk about initiative, there's something about willingness and an agency, I think.
In Chile, and we have a new president who is only 36 years old. This is Gabriel Boric, and this is a very good example for what we need. Young leaders, not the elder politicians, the elder president, prime ministers, because in my perception, I think that this person, elder people, they do not care about future. So they don't care much about climate change as a young people could do. Another important thing about being young and being a leader is that in my perspective, and in my country at least, I think that younger generations are more open-minded in things about inclusiveness, diversities, other things that elder people are not so open-minded, you know? So I think that that kind of leadership we need.
So the question was, what types of leadership do young people need to promote global development? And here on the screen, as you can see, I summarized some of the keywords that came up during the conversation. And my question to you is, do you agree? Are there any other characteristics that you think are important as young people want to make a difference in global development? Comment and let us know. Before we wrap up, let me share two other instances during the opening live lecture that was particularly inspiring for me, which I think provide additional contributions to this particular discussion of leadership. First, Professor Yang Bing mentioned the following.
And 6, staying committed to results-oriented actions. So result, result, result. There are many fields that need our actions, you know, walk our talks.
And the importance of actions was also reiterated by the UN Secretary General as he said,
"We are headed for a global catastrophe. The emissions gap is a byproduct of a commitments gap, a promise gap, and an action gap. And that gap must be filled."
I cannot agree more. We must develop leadership that go beyond moving and motivational speeches. As we know, actions do speak louder than words, and we need action-driven or results-driven leadership more than ever before. Lastly, an exchange on the idea of initiative during the live class between a student from Saudi Arabia and Professor Yang Bing was especially refreshing for me. And here's what they said.
The initiative, it's offering, not enforcement like the strategic or because planning or strategic could be more about enforcing others to follow the sample.
Yeah, I heard that you use the word forcing others to follow. That's very, very important, you know, difference. So, and also when we use the word initiative, it invites others to become the host, not just guest. You can contribute as one of the leaders rather than just the followers. So that's very, very important for initiative.
Personally, I particularly fancy and appreciate the idea of open invitation, the journey of co-creation, and the quality of inclusiveness, which I think all are critical to promote any initiatives of global development as we are building towards a community of shared future for all mankind and the environment on this planet. And what a wonderful way and wonderful message to end this video series on global development as well. Before I say goodbye, if you have any thoughts about any content, whether you agree or disagree, I would still love to hear from you. So leave us a comment. I do want to once again thank everyone who participated in all the weekend discussions, as well as Tsinghua University, the Global MOOC and Online Education Alliance, and their collaboration, the Global Hybrid Course, China's Perspective on Global Development Initiative, led by Professor Yang Bing, the Vice President of Tsinghua University, and of course, all of you who are watching now. And thank you so much for your support and the comments. One more thing, let me share this interesting exchange that happened between two participants from Latin America. Very fascinating. And I'm super glad to be able to provide an inclusive environment for authentic sharing and diverse perspectives, for everyone to gain a more complete picture of how young people around the world think about global development. I passionately believe that great conversation happen when we go beyond ideological differences, but into personal stories that explain your unique worldview. When debates are not just about winning, but about challenging yourselves through broadening your horizon. And most importantly, when we learn to express and not impress, and when young people strive to be known rather than to be validated. I hope you are enjoying this as much as I am. And once again, do leave us a comment if you have any thoughts, any idea, and anything you want to say to me. And I hope to see you again in future videos. Enjoy.
Sustainable leadership. One example. Yesterday in London, some girls throw tomato sauce to a Bangkok picture, right? They are doing an effort to catch the eye in a movement, in an initiative. You know? They have this courage, we can say, but it's not sustainable. It's not something that is going to last. It's just a minute. They are not looking at the bigger picture, at doing an effort that lasts and that remains, no? And that has a bigger impact. How do we teach a leader to be to have initiatives that are sustainable? That will be my question to the when we are young, we have a lot of energy, but how to go with this energy in sustainable projects?
To be honest, I do appreciate what they did, and in my perspective, I think that some criticals of what happened, because they distracted the Van Gogh painting, their objectives was to make noise. How could they make noise in other ways that to vandalize is a very important piece of art in a very important museum? Because if they do it in that way, all the people around the world, the TV news, the newspapers, the social media will be aware of what happened, and they get it. They get the attention, and they explain their position about climate change. And in my perspective, they get it. They got it. They got what they were finding. So it was successful.